Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. This is Shyam Sir here, taking up the Hindu news analysis for 30th December 2025. Now, before I start the session, please do let me know that I'm audible and visible for all of you. Those present in the session, please give the confirmation. Am I audible and visible? Thanks a lot. Let's start. So, in today's session, I've taken a total of 9 articles, all of them from the daily edition of the Hindu newspaper. The discussion will be comprehensive in order to help you answer the questions in the prelims as well as mains examination. If you're liking the initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Now, before I start the session, here is a very important announcement for those aspirants who want to ace the examination in 2026 and 2027 civil services. All our courses right now are available at a 55% discount. And if you use the code IAS English, you will also become eligible for double validity. That is, you purchase the course for 6 months. Additional 6 months will be provided to you free of cost. 9 months if you purchase the course for 9, and 12 months if you purchase the course for the 12 months. So whatever is the duration for which you purchase the course, the same duration will be provided by us free of cost. Those interested in enrolling, do check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description. And I've been told that tomorrow is the last day of this particular offer. Let me begin the discussion. First important article, India New Zealand Free Trade Agreement. What is in the India New Zealand Free Trade Agreement? Let's understand from the basic points to the advanced concepts associated with the article. First and foremost, what do you mean by a free trade agreement? Under the concept of free trade agreement, two or more than two countries, I repeat, two or more than two countries come together, sign an agreement. And under the agreement, they basically agree to reduce or eliminate the barriers that are restricting the trade between both of these countries. For example, let's say there is a country A having trade relations with country B. That is essentially A is exporting and A is also importing. Now there will be a lot of barriers. What do you mean by barriers? Barriers essentially are restrictions. I repeat, barriers are essentially restrictions. For example, most of the times the trade agreements focus on tariff barriers. Tariff barriers essentially refer to the taxes. When India will import something, India will impose a tariff on this, that is basically the duties. Now, under the concept of trade agreement, generally, not always, generally, the focus is on reducing or eliminating the tariff barriers. Now, in the context of India, it has been signing multiple trade agreements in the past, and this year itself, it has signed, I repeat, it has signed two agreements. It has signed two agreements. One is with Oman, and before that with United Kingdom. But in the month of December, there was one more announcement done by the government of India. That is, the negotiations for the trade agreement between India and New Zealand have been completed. I repeat, the negotiations for the trade agreement to be signed between India and New Zealand have been completed. And this is important for a simple reason. India in the recent times has been diversifying its exports. The reason behind this is very simple. We have been discussing this multiple times in the session. In recent times, the government of USA has announced tariffs 50% on most of the goods exports going from India to USA. Now, government of India has been adopting multiple measures. One such measure is essentially diversifying the exports rather than depending only on exporting to USA, which is a major trading partner. We are signing multiple trade agreements. Since 2021, more than 6 or 7 trade agreements have been either signed or entered into negotiations. But in this year itself, two have been signed and one there is a finalization of negotiations. This is the first importance. Second importance, The first one is, I'll write them here, diversification. And the second reason why this particular trade agreement is important is because it is going to promote the bilateral trade. The bilateral trade between India and New Zealand. Right now, the bilateral trade is very small number, just around $1.5 billion. Under this particular trade agreement proposal, the government of India simply says they have a plan to more than double it in the next 5 years. In the next 5 years, they have plans to more than double this particular bilateral trade. Third very important point, India will be getting their exports, that is, India's exports will be getting the duty free access to the New Zealand market. That is, 100% of the goods exported from India will not be attracting any kind of a duties. And on the other hand, from the New Zealand, around 95% of the exports will be made duty free, which essentially means now with no tariffs or with no taxes on the imports, these imports will become much more cheaper in India, and India's exports in New Zealand will become much more cheaper. And that is how the bilateral trade is expected to be promoted. Fourth very important point, India, as usual, has protected the sensitive areas. Please remember this particular point. India, as usual, has protected its sensitive areas. What do you mean by sensitive areas here? New Zealand is a powerhouse in the sense it majorly promotes exports of agriculture commodities. Agriculture as well as allied sectors. For example, the dairy exports. But in case of India, whenever there is a trade negotiation between India and any other country for that matter, take for that matter USA or UK or China, where the negotiations have happened earlier, but there is no trade agreement, free trade agreement between India and China, or for that matter RCEP, India has never agreed to open up the agriculture sector. Reason being, a lot of farmers in India depend on the source of income through agriculture. The farmers in India are not as, right, in terms of income, not as competitive compared to the farmers in other countries. In this particular situation, if India will open up the agriculture sector, imports will suddenly rise, which will hurt India's farmers as well as agriculture sector. That's the reason India has basically protected its sensitive areas such as agriculture and dairy, right? Let's say imports are not covered under the trade agreement. Fifth very important point associated with the trade agreement is this is one of the fastest trade agreement that has been arrived at. Not yet signed, but agreed at. The government of India simply states it has taken 9 months for both the sides to negotiate and come to an agreement regarding what should be covered, what should not be covered under the free trade agreement. This is important for a simple reason. Remember this, trade agreements take a lot of time. It's not that today the government of India along with another government will announce negotiations and after 1 week they will arrive at agreement. No. In multiple cases, India has taken years, I repeat years, right, to come to a trade agreement. So in this particular situation, 9 months is a very fast or very quick duration within which the trade agreement has been agreed upon. Now, sixth very important point, this is the first trade agreement for New Zealand. I repeat, this is a first trade agreement for New Zealand where it has not covered the agriculture and dairy sector. It is the first agreement for New Zealand, not for India, for New Zealand, where it has not covered, there is no provision to basically promote agriculture exports or dairy exports from New Zealand. This is for the first time that New Zealand has agreed to such an agreement. Right, everybody is okay? And seventh very important point from the context of India. In this particular agreement, there is one provision which will promote movement of skilled labor from India to New Zealand. And this is nothing special as such. I'm saying nothing special for a simple reason. You take many of these particular trade agreements and look at the provisions. I'm pretty sure one provision that you come across will be on skilled labor movement. For example, take the agreement between India and Oman. Take the agreement between India and UK. And now take the agreement proposals between India and New Zealand. There will be one provision associated with movement of skilled labor, because globally there are multiple countries which are facing the shortage of skilled labor. India has a huge amount of surplus skilled labor that they want to export to many countries now, including New Zealand. According to the clause or according to the provision, 5,000 visas at any point of time, there will be 5,000 visas which will be issued to the Indians, which will help movement of skilled labor into New Zealand. And the eighth very important provision, please make a note of this as well. Under this particular agreement, New Zealand has promised to invest $20 billion. New Zealand has promised to invest $20 billion in the next 15 years in India. This is also important for a simple reason. Look at this proposal in connotation with the government's policies. That is, Government of India promoting manufacturing in India. The Government of India has already announced reforms under FDI. The Government of India has announced a Startup India policy, Make in India initiative, production linked incentive. Right? So many reforms have been announced in order to promote manufacturing in India. And that particular context, this particular proposal to invest $20 billion becomes important. Now, apart from this, there is also one provision, right, that is basically referred as a clawback. They've used the term clawback provision. What is this clawback provision? What if New Zealand is not able to invest $20 billion? Of course, the time period is 15 years. What if they are not able to invest $20 billion? In such cases, that is, if the other trading partner doesn't satisfy these kind of conditions, then some of the benefits given by India in the trade agreement will be withdrawn. Some of the exemptions, benefits provided will be taken back. This is basically a clawback provision. In addition to this, there is another criticism associated, one criticism associated with the trade agreement. From the context of India, will it provide a huge impetus? Will it provide a huge impetus to India's exports? Many of the experts are not convinced. The reason they simply cite is the market size of New Zealand is very small. I hope all of you understand this. On one side, you're negotiating a trade agreement, bilateral trade agreement with USA, the largest economy in the world. Largest economy in the world. Right? So you should be able to tap that particular market because the potential of exports is very, very high there. Right? The potential to earn forex, generate revenues, etc. potential is very high in the context of other markets compared to New Zealand. That is one very important point. Remember this. Second very important criticism. Many of the lawmakers, even the coalition partners of the New Zealand government have criticized the agreement. What is their argument? Their argument is the main exports from New Zealand are dairy. The main exports are associated with agriculture. But the trade agreement doesn't have any kind of a proposal to promote these kind of competitive exports from New Zealand to India. So their argument is that this particular trade deal is not a fair trade deal. This will provide more incentives to India rather than New Zealand exports. And on the other hand, Indian criticism, or let's say the Indian experts criticize this particular trade agreement, saying that the kind of benefit that India has provided by reducing the tariff, it is going to provide more incentive to New Zealand exporters. Not Indian exporters, New Zealand exporters. What is the meaning of it? The average tariffs imposed by Indian government on the imports is around 16%. Is everybody okay? I'm talking about average, right? Not just a single product line, average. India imposes around 16% average tariffs. Although it has reduced over a period of time, from 1991 it has come down, but in recent times, in order to promote production in India, it has increased by a small margin. On the other side, the average tariffs imposed by New Zealand is just over 2%. Right? The New Zealand's average tariffs is just over 2%. So New Zealand will reduce the tariffs from 2% to 0%. And India will reduce the tariff on the imports coming from New Zealand from 16% to almost 0%. So don't you think government of India is providing more incentives to the exporters from New Zealand rather than what incentives the Indian exporters would be getting? Right? So this is one more concern or one more criticism that has been leveled by Indian, or let's say the Indian side, regarding this particular trade proposal. But finally, look at the overall picture. Please look at the overall picture. There is always a pro, there is always a cons, etc. Please look at the overall picture. If you look at the overall picture, India was part of RCEP. All of you remember the RCEP proposal, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Right? Amongst the 16 member countries initially proposed, India was one of them. India, over a period of time, raised concerns regarding the proposals under RCEP, moved out of RCEP. It did not sign RCEP. Remaining 15 members, mainly China plus ASEAN, Australia, New Zealand, etc., they signed RCEP. If you look at what has government of India done after walking out of RCEP, right? Look at the overall picture now. What India has done after moving out of RCEP or declining to sign RCEP is that it has individually chosen these member countries who are part of RCEP, either renegotiated the trade agreement or is in the process of renegotiating already signed trade agreement with them, or else has signed a new trade agreement or is negotiating a new trade agreement. Let me give you example. India, ASEAN. ASEAN is part of RCEP. India ASEAN trade agreement was signed back in the year 2010-11, has come into force after 2011. We are renegotiating this particular trade agreement. It is already there. We are renegotiating. India, Australia, right? We have signed a free trade agreement very recently with that. Now, New Zealand, we have negotiated a free trade agreement, which is to be signed very, very soon now. So rather than joining RCEP and allowing Chinese imports to come duty free into India, which would have hurt India's market much greater, in much greater way, India has negotiated trade deals without including China, but with the other members of RCEP. So this is basically the outcome of this kind of a news article. Is everybody okay with the discussion? Please do let me know. Important from the context of UPSC mains examination, although certain concepts associated with prelims as well. Please take up this particular question for answer writing. India's recent FTA negotiations reflect a policy shift from protectionism to calibrated trade liberalization. From protectionism to calibrated trade liberalization. Examine this statement with reference to the trade agreements either negotiated or signed by India in 2025. You can talk about the trade agreements between India and UK, India, Oman, India, right? And basically the New Zealand here. So multiple examples you can quote in order to say that no, we are not simply following a protectionist policy to achieve objectives of, let's say, higher GDP, higher employment, higher production, etc. But at the same point of time, we have liberalized our approach towards the trade agreements. And still, we are trying to achieve the same outcomes. Done? Now, please solve the MCQ and tell me what is the correct answer very quickly. Arrange the following in increasing order of economic integration. Arrange the following in increasing order of economic integration. Free trade agreement, customs union, common market, preferential trade agreement. What is the correct sequence? Please tell me very quickly. A, B, C or D? What is the correct answer? Anushka Singh says option C. What about others? Quickly tell me what is the correct answer. Free trade agreement, customs union, common market, preferential trade agreement. First, that is the lowest level integration, is the fourth one. Right? Shale says option B. Okay. The lowest level integration is the fourth one, that is a preferential trade agreement. This will be the first. After preferential trade agreement, there will be free trade agreement. So 4, after that 1. After that, there will be customs union, that will be 2. And after that, there will be common market, that will be 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. Most of you have given the correct answer. Absolutely right. Option C is the right one. Okay. Most of you, please pat yourself on the back. Not too hard. Right. So, congrats. You have got +2 marks. Next article. Foundations for India's growth. This article, again, listen to me carefully here. This article is written by Mr. Hardeep Puri. Right? Mr. Hardeep Puri is the Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas. What the article does is information dump. Right? I'll repeat the statement, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. What the article has provided is information dump or information overload. Every point, right, or every paragraph has one or the 2 points, which essentially is a summary of all the reforms that have been undertaken by the government of India in 2025. Is everybody okay? Don't worry, you don't have to memorize all of them. I've listed out, right, a lot of them for your benefit, which have a larger implication. I've listed them out. You can have a look at it. I will tell you the importance of these reforms. What the government of India traditionally, or let's say in this year, has done is multiple reforms in Indian economy, associated with Indian economy, under the factors of production. All of you heard of factors of production? There are 4 factors of production, essentially: the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. So, to promote ease of doing business, to promote higher investments in India, to make it easier to, right, let's say, conduct businesses, promote manufacturing, etc., the government of India has implemented multiple reforms. What are these particular reforms? This is the list. Please don't panic, by the way. Right? This is not the end of the reforms that have been listed. There is one more slide, by the way. There is one more slide. And before somebody says, sir, right, you have listed out everything, what should I do? Should you remember all the reforms? Not necessary. And I don't think so. UPSC will ask you a straightforward question like, list out the reforms in 2025. I don't think so. But anyways, just to be on a safer side, these are the important reforms. First one, India has become one of the largest GDPs in the global market. Very recently, even the government of India stated that India has become the 4th largest GDP. All of you heard of this? India has become the 4th largest. The size of the GDP, it is the 4th largest. And not just this, India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Fastest growing economies in the world. For the first half of the current financial year, Indian economy has registered more than 8% GDP growth rate. More than 8%. Not a joke, by the way, not a small number, more than 8%. So that is the first important point. Second important point is, what about the India's rating in the global market? There are global rating agencies. What these global rating agencies, essentially 3 types. There are globally major 3. One is S&P, second one is Fitch, and the third one is Moody's. For the first time in the last 18 years, the sovereign credit rating by S&P has been upgraded for India. Sovereign credit rating has been upgraded for India. Right? It has been upgraded to BBB. This is another very important point. Third very important point is, look at India's exports. India's total exports for 2025 have crossed more than $820 billion. And by the way, under the foreign trade policy, India has a target of achieving $2 trillion of exports by 2030. Remember this, right? By 2030, the target is $2 trillion total merchandise plus services exports. Right now, the total, right, exports from India in this year, that is 24 and 25, is $825 billion. Regarding trade agreements, like I said earlier, India has negotiated multiple trade agreements. It has signed a trade agreement with Oman. It has signed trade agreement with UK. It has completed the negotiations of trade agreement with New Zealand. Next, India's startup sector. Listen to me very carefully. Whenever there's a discussion about the startups, not every company, not every entity that is registered, that is set up now, can be recognized or can be called as a startup. A lot of you have a misconception associated with this. Basically, under the DPIIT, Department for Promotion of Industries and Internal Trade, which functions under the Ministry of Commerce, it basically identifies and recognizes a startup if the company satisfies three conditions. If the company satisfies three conditions: one, it is registered under the Companies Act, registered under the Limited Liability Partnership Act, or registered under the Partnership Act. Second, from the date of registration, that is, from the date of setting up of the company till today, it has not crossed 10 years of age. And the third one is from the year of registration till today, in individually any of the year, the total turnover has not crossed 100 crores. If you meet all the three conditions, DPIIT recognizes you as a startup, because DPIIT is the nodal authority for Startup India Policy 2016. And under the Startup India Policy, lot of benefits, lot of exemptions are provided to the recognized startups. So how many startups have been identified this right so far? 2 lakh government recognized startups. And India is one of the largest startup ecosystem in the world. Please remember, India is one of the largest startup ecosystem in the world. There is also a portal called as a GEM, GEM, Government E-Marketplace. What is a portal use? Essentially, this has revolutionized, I repeat, it has revolutionized how the government will procure whatever it requires. For example, they want to procure, right, let's say laptops, they want to procure fans, they want to procure tables, they want to procure defense products, etc. The procurement order, or basically the requirements, will be issued on the government e-marketplace, and whichever company wants to sell it to the government, they will have to participate on the portal, register, participate, and then a bidding process will be conducted, and they will be chosen. The lowest let's say bid will be chosen by the government. That is essentially the government e-marketplace, right, to make the whole system of procurement much more transparent, much more efficient, etc. So GEM has saw a cumulative transactions over 16 lakh crore rupees. That is another very important outcome which you can write about government of India's reforms leading to, right, let's say outcomes. The Global Innovation Index, India's ranking under the Global Innovation Index is much better now. It is ranked at 38th out of 139 economies. The National Single Window System, NSWS. What is this NSWS? Simple. Rather than going to different departments to get licenses or the approvals, be it at the central government level or the state government level, now there is a single portal. Simple. There is a single portal, NSWS. Whatever approvals you require, you can apply it on the portal, and all of them will be issued through the portal itself. Labor codes have come into effect in the month of November, has been announced by the union government, which is going to rationalize the labor laws in India. More than 29 labor laws have been consolidated into 4 labor codes. This is expected to promote ease of doing business. Securities Market Code Bill, very recently in the winter session of the Parliament, the Finance Minister has introduced a security market code. Under this, the different laws associated with the securities market, for example, SEBI Act of 1992, or for that matter, the Securities and Contract Regulation Act of 1956, or Depositories Act, all of these have been consolidated into a single law. Right? That is going to strengthen how SEBI is going to work. It is going to rationalize a lot of these particular procedures, lot of, right, let's say the cases where even a minute discrepancy would be treated as a criminal outcome or a criminal instance has been decriminalized, etc. And in the context of energy, the government of India very recently has introduced the Shanti Bill, which has been passed by both the houses. It is going to basically promote atomic energy, right? That is in order to achieve 100 gigawatts of the target that the government of India set up through nuclear energy by 2047. That impetus towards that will be provided through the Shanti Bill. Done. So these are some of the reforms that have been listed by the minister in the whole article. I've basically summarized all these, right, important reforms. Is everybody okay with the discussion? Please do let me know. Now, associated with this, I've given an MCQ. Please solve the MCQ and tell me what is the correct answer. Consider the following statements. And those who are wondering, sir, where will I get the PPT? Once the session is over, download the PPT. Don't simply write down when I'm discussing. Consider the following statements. The nodal authority for the startup policy in India is DPIIT. DPIIT is the nodal authority for formulation of FDI policy. DPIIT functions under the Ministry of Finance. How many of the statements are true? Do let me know. Quickly, tell me the key answer. How many of the statements are true? The nodal authority for 7007 PK says A. Shell says A. A lot of you are saying A, right? Two of you have said B. Okay, let's start. Nodal authority for the startup policy in India is DPIIT. Yes, that is correct. DPIIT is the nodal authority for formulation of FDI policy. Yes, please be very careful. FDI policy, the nodal authority for formation of the FDI policy is DPIIT itself. DPIIT functions under the Ministry of Finance? No, DPIIT functions under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So out of 3 statements, 2 are correct. Right option will be option B, only 2. Let me go forward. Next article. Why is Myanmar voting amidst conflict? Right? Why is the voting happening? Why elections are being conducted in Myanmar between the conflict or when there is a conflict going on? What is the important issue here? Let's understand. Myanmar gained independence from the British. It got independence in the year 1948. And from 1948 till 1962, there was democracy. Later, the military took over the rule, and since then there has been a military rule, and in the year 2010, right, somewhat elections were introduced. 2015 elections took place. 2020 elections took place. The party NDP, right, that is a National NLD, not NDP, NLD, National League for Democracy, which is led by Aung San Suu Kyi. Right, so NLD got the majority in the year 2020, held elections, and it formed the government. But in the year 2021, that is on the 1st February 2021, again the military junta, right, that is military rule, was imposed on Myanmar. And since then, it's been more than 3 years. Since then, there has been a military rule, right, in Myanmar. Now, when this has happened on one side, there has been an opposition to the military rule. There have been multiple rebel groups which have been fighting against the military. A lot of parts within Myanmar have been lost by the military and they are controlled by the rebel groups. When this kind of a conflict is happening in Myanmar, there is an election which is being conducted. The first round has already happened. There are elections supposed to be held in 3 rounds. 3 rounds to be held in elections. In the month of January, they are expected to announce the final results. Final results. So question is, why is the military junta conducting elections when there is so much of a conflict going on? And as a result of this kind of a conflict between the rebel groups as well as the military, more than 6,000 people have been killed and more than 3.6 million people have been displaced. More than 3.6 million, 36 lakh people have been displaced. A lot of people have lost faith on the military rule, and because of the conflict, they have moved even out of the country as well. So now the question arises, why? What is the logic behind conducting elections? The reason behind conducting elections is initially when the military rule was imposed, when the junta rule was imposed, there was a widespread global criticism. Multiple Western countries criticized the military rule and they imposed a lot of sanctions on the military. But over a period of time, these kind of sanctions have become useless. A lot of these particular sanctions are not in effect right now. So the argument of many of the experts is that the military is basically conducting elections as a whitewash. Whitewash in the sense, the military has control over the election body. They reconstituted the election body, the Union Election Commission, UEC. the Myanmar, this is called as Union Election Commission, UEC. They have reconstituted Union Election Commission, and they have basically placed a lot of loyalists who support the military rule in the UEC. And what the UEC has done is they have de-recognized a lot of major political parties. They have de-recognized a lot of major political parties. They have not given the recognition. They have not allowed a lot of these particular political parties to participate in the election. That is the first very important point. Second very important point is, in this particular election, lot of people who have migrated, they are not expected to come back and vote in the elections. Lot of people has been displaced. They are not expected to go back and vote because they are worried, right? They are basically concerned. So migrant population is not expected to vote in this election. And the third important point to note here is, in the upper house as well as the lower house. In the upper house as well as the lower house, 25% of the seats are reserved for military. 25% of the seats are reserved for military. And what military has done is, through various laws and regulations, they have introduced the system, in one case, first past the post system, and in another case, a combination of proportional representation as well as first past the post system. And through all of these, they're simply ensuring that no single party will get a huge majority. No single party will get the huge majority. First and foremost, the most famous or the largest political party, that is NLD, is not allowed to participate in the election. The leader is in the incarceration. She has been imprisoned for 27 years on the pretext of multiple laws or multiple crimes. She has been put in prison for 27 years. Amidst all of this, now military junta is conducting a 3-round elections in Myanmar. This is basically in a nutshell regarding what is happening in Myanmar. Now, what is the concern? Globally, now the concern is multiple countries have criticized the military rule. But at the same point of time, countries such as Russia and China, they have supported this, right? Let's say the elections being conducted. They have sent observers, right, to basically certify how the elections are happening in Myanmar. Now, one more biggest concern associated with elections happening in Myanmar is, what will be the stance of Mr. Donald Trump? What will be the stance of Mr. Donald Trump? Whether USA government will be okay with whatever is the results announced by Myanmar? Will they, right, certify or basically say that the elections were held free and fair? Right? It is a movement towards democracy. Or like the earlier administration, will the US current administration also criticize the military rule and say that these elections are not free and fair when you have imprisoned the major, let's say, leader of the major political party, and when most of the population is displaced, etc. What will be the stance? Lot of experts argue Mr. Donald Trump may not take the stance taken by the earlier administration, because he is basically focused on access to critical minerals in the region. He might simply say, right, the elections are free and fair, and whatever has happened, right, that is correct in Myanmar. So these are some of the concerns, important points associated with the elections in Myanmar. Everybody is okay with the discussion? Now, just for sake of information, please observe the map here. Please observe the map. Question can be asked in the context of mapping in the prelims examination. This is India, right? This is Indian border, and India shares a huge border with Myanmar. India shares a huge border with Myanmar. Can be asked in the preliminary examination. There are relations in terms of trade, exports, imports. There is a proposal which has not taken off, which has not been completed, the highway proposal, which will connect the 3 countries, that is Thailand, Myanmar, as well as India. There are also, right, let's say, military exercises which have been conducted earlier between India and Myanmar. Questions can be asked. Now, let me ask you this MCQ. Consider the following statements. Please tell me what is the key answer very quickly. India shares its longest land border with Myanmar. Longest land border with Myanmar. Myanmar is a part of ASEAN grouping. Amongst the states, Arunachal Pradesh shares the longest border with Myanmar. How many of the statements are true? Please tell me very quickly. India shares its longest land border with Myanmar. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. India shares its longest land border with Bangladesh. Remember, this can be asked in preliminary examination because of what is happening between India and Bangladesh. And one more way to just confuse you, make the question difficult is, instead of asking the length of the border, which is more than 4,000 kilometers between India and Bangladesh and around 1,700 kilometers between India and Myanmar, what they might ask you is the states which will share the border. The states which will share the border. Please be careful. Myanmar is part of ASEAN grouping. Yes, Myanmar is one of the countries within ASEAN grouping. In fact, recently when the negotiations or the meetings of ASEAN were conducted, Myanmar military tried to represent, the military representatives went and they were not allowed to participate. They were not allowed to participate in the group meet. Amongst the states, Arunachal Pradesh shares the longest border with Myanmar. Yes. Amongst the states, Arunachal Pradesh shares the longest border with Myanmar. Please have a look at this particular picture. Right? Please have a look at the picture. Arunachal Pradesh shares the border with Myanmar. Along with that, there is Nagaland, there is Manipur, and there is Mizoram. The highest border, right, a state shares with Myanmar is Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, please make a note of this. Can be asked in the preliminary examination. Let me go forward. INSV, Indian Navy, right? Indian Navy, Indian Navy shipping vessel, Kaundinya. INSV Kaundinya, right, basically sails, takes the first sail, right, to Oman, that is to Muscat. What is the importance of this article? Listen to me carefully. INSV Kaundinya, the proposal for developing this kind of a ship, and when I say this kind of a ship or a vessel, this particular ship or a vessel has been constructed using old traditional method, old traditional technique. Old traditional. What do you mean by old traditional? According to the government documents, the methodology or let's say the technology that has been used to develop this particular or construct this particular ship belongs to the 5th century. Belongs to the 5th century. Very, very old methods. Unlike the current ships, which will have lot of motors, which will have lot of technology, etc., this particular ship has been constructed in India without any of these particular technologies. It is purely a very old ship in all of its essence. What do I mean by this? Is there a motor fitted with this particular ship which will help its movement? Absolutely no motors. The movement of this particular ship will be conducted through the sails. Right? Whatever movement will happen, whatever the ship has to go, it has to happen through the sails itself. So this is basically developed through a tripartite arrangement. Remember, tripartite agreement or a tripartite arrangement. This was proposed back in the year 2021, and in the year 2023 the proposal was accepted, and right for 2 to 3 years the time has been taken to construct or to design and develop this particular ship. And the first right, basically the first voyage of this particular ship is from Porbandar in Gujarat to Muscat, that is in Oman. It is basically taking the old ancient route where the trade was conducted between these two regions. And remember this, they basically say this is hand stitched. This particular vessel has been hand stitched. What is the meaning of hand stitched? The old methodology or the technology of right keeping these particular planks together. No nails, nothing. Just using the ropes, using a special type of, let's say, resin, etc. This particular ship has been constructed. Done? So these are certain important points associated with INSV Kaundinya. Please make a note of this. Now quickly solve this particular MCQ. Based on whatever I've discussed, it will be very easy for you to solve this question. Consider the following statement regarding INSV Kaundinya. It has been developed in a tripartite agreement between Ministry of Defense, Navy and Hodi Innovation. Just remember, remove the term defense. Ministry of Defense? No. A lot of you will fall into this particular trap. You feel Indian Navy means it has to be defense. No. It is a tripartite agreement between Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Culture, Navy, and Hodi Innovation. Entire funding for the project has been borne by the Ministry of Defense, no Ministry of Culture. Second one is also incorrect. The maiden voyage will be from Porbandar to Muscat. Yes, the third statement is correct. Out of three statements, only one is correct. Right option is option A. Let me go forward. China stages record military drills simulating blockade of key ports encircling Taiwan. Right? This was on paper. This is on lines of what China generally does. In recent past, that is in the last 1.5 to 2 months, there have been multiple instances where China has raised a concern, China has raised its voice and warned the global, right, let's say the countries around the world not to interfere between China and Taiwan. For example, the statement given by the Japanese Prime Minister. All of you remember that? We have also discussed that in the earlier session. The statement given by Japanese Prime Minister, where she stated, when a question was raised to her, she simply stated, if China will invade, attack, right, let's say Taiwan, it has to be considered as an event which is going to have an impact on existence of Japan. And Japan will react accordingly. And that particular single statement led to basically a crisis, diplomatic crisis between both of these particular countries. We have discussed regarding that earlier as well. In addition to that, what actually might have led to the sudden, right, let's say, the decision of the Chinese authorities, that is the People Liberation Army, PLA. PLA is conducting this particular, the exercise. What could have led to this particular sudden decision is the decision of the US administration to sell weapons to Taiwan. Listen to me very carefully. Very recently, there was an agreement that was signed between USA and Taiwan. Right? What is the deal? The deal is worth $11 billion. The deal is worth $11 billion. And according to this particular deal, multiple defense equipments, right, will be sold by USA government to Taiwan. And this is in line with the policy of USA. Even the earlier administration, when Mr. Joe Biden was the president, they also followed the same policy. They would always protect Taiwan. Right? So argument is, with this kind of announcement of the deal or the defense deal, Chinese authorities gave a statement stating that the members of other countries, or let's say the other member countries, should not interfere between China and Taiwan, because China believes, or China basically says, that Taiwan is a part of China. It has a right over the sovereignty of Taiwan. And finally, right, recently, the Chinese authorities, that is the People's Liberation Army, have announced a drill or an exercise in this particular region. The name of this is Operation Justice Mission. Operation Justice Mission 2025. Is everybody okay? These are the important points. Please remember this. Operation Justice Mission. And what is the speciality this time? According to the observers, China, all the three wings, Army, Navy and Air Force, all the three wings are participating in this, the drills. And the speciality many of the observers say is the worrying movement of, right, let's say worrying kind of exercises that they're conducting. For example, they're trying to have a complete blockade. Blockade in the sense, let's say hypothetically, now China will have an attack on, or China will invade Taiwan. And once China will invade Taiwan, there is expected support which is supposed to come from USA. In that particular instance, how can they completely ensure that the support will not reach Taiwan? How they will ensure that, what maneuvers they will have to do, what kind of, let's say, the movement the ships have to do, etc. What all they have to do in order to ensure that the support from USA will not reach the mainland of Taiwan. That is a concerning factor. And against this, the Taiwan's government has already issued a statement. They have also, right, readied their weapons, right, their arms, or let's say their the forces are, right, basically ready now. So these are certain important points associated with Operation Justice Mission 2025. Everybody is okay with the discussion? Next article, AI Impact Summit. AI Impact Summit. What are the important points here? In the month of February 2026, right, India will be hosting or India will be conducting AI Impact Summit, Artificial Intelligence Impact Summit. What is the importance of this? Listen to me very carefully. This particular summit is not a formal grouping, by the way. It's not a formal group of countries which has been recognized. There is a convention, etc. No. Back in the year 2023, for the first time ever, multiple countries around the world came together. They discussed issues associated with artificial intelligence. Issues, right? The safety procedures, right? How can we control the abuse or let's say the misuse of the artificial intelligence, right? The security features, etc., etc. And the first summit, that is the AI Impact Summit, for the first time was held in UK. It was held in UK, right? Please remember. And since then, annually the countries have been meeting. In 2023, first time it was held in UK. 2024, it was held in South Korea. In 2025, it was held in France. Right? It was held in France. Now, in 2026, the AI Impact Summit will be held in India. The Impact Summit will be held in India. What is the importance of this? As usual, it is a global grouping, again informal. There is no convention, nothing. It's an informal grouping of the countries. The heads of around 15 to 20 countries, heads, that is the leaders of 15 to 20 countries are expected to participate. That's the reason the government of India stated it might arrange this particular summit on the lines of G20 group event. Just like we have conducted the G20 meeting earlier, we might arrange a summit in that particular line. So hundreds of the companies, the foreign companies are expected to participate. And this is important for a simple reason. India will be one of the countries from the southern part of the globe, representing, right, let's say the countries representing and also playing an important role in formulation of the global policies associated with artificial intelligence. So these are certain important points associated with the AI Impact Summit. Done. Now, please tell me what is the answer to this question. The first AI Impact Summit was held in 2023 in UK. India is a signatory to Blakely, right? Blakely Declaration on AI Safety. And those who are wondering, Blakely is essentially the place where in UK where the first summit was held. Blakely is a place in UK where the first summit, AI Impact Summit, was held back in the year 2023. At the first AI Summit, this should not be difficult. First statement is correct. India is a signatory to Blakely Declaration on AI Safety. Yes, please remember. There are 28 countries, right, in addition to, right, let's say the European Union, 28 countries. European Union is a grouping, by the way. So there are 28 countries who are signatory to the Blakely, let's say, declaration. India is one of them. India is one of them. So both the statements are true. Right option for the question will be option C. Okay, now, right, couple of updates. These are new articles, couple of updates. Fake demand under MGNREGA won't be entertained. Statement of government. Very recently, we have been discussing the government of India's policy to replace MGNREGA. The government of India has implemented or has introduced VB-G Ram-G. Okay, VB-G Ram-G. Right, this particular bill has been introduced, has been passed by the parliament. This particular scheme will be replacing the existing MGNREGA scheme. Now, in the committee meeting which was held very recently, certain concerns have been raised by the opposition political parties. What is a simple criticism, or let's say the concern raised? The MGNREGA was a demand-driven scheme. I'm pretty sure you have heard of this particular statement umpteen times by now. MGNREGA is a demand-driven scheme, whereas, right, VB Ramji is not a demand-driven, right? It is not going to be a demand-driven, rather it is going to be a supply-driven. How will the government ensure that this kind of a shift will happen? Is everybody able to understand what I'm saying? Under MGNREGA, it was a demand-driven. What do you mean by demand-driven? At the local level, what is the demand estimation for working people? That is how many people are searching for Manrega jobs, right? Manrega wages. That estimation would happen even if the amount to be spent was higher than what was allocated in the budget. The government of India would approve it and implement it. Whereas under VBG Ramji, the union government simply says, no, we are not going to follow this particular procedure. Rather, they have used the term, remember this, normative allocations. Normative allocations. That is, whatever is decided in the budget, we will decide how much of the money will go to which state, at which level, how much funds will be used for which kind of projects. For what kind of projects? Because essentially, four categories of projects have been classified under the VBG Ramji, whereas under the Manrega, there was no such limited categorization. Multiple types of projects were covered. So now the question is, how will the transition happen? What if the government will simply suppress, because the people want to get the jobs under Manrega, because under the VBG Ramji it is 125 days. People want to apply, they want to get the jobs. What if government simply says this is the fund which we have allocated and these are the number of working days that we will give you? Beyond this or beyond these numbers, we will not give you any kind of, let's say, the work opportunities or wage opportunities. So this concern has been raised in the committee meeting, right? So just an update, please make a note of this. Now, two more updates. The Supreme Court of India has paused the Aravali judgment. Supreme Court of India has paused Aravali judgment. Very important thing. Reason being, generally you will not see a three-judge bench. A three-judge bench, that is obviously three-judge in the Supreme Court means led by CJI. A three-judge bench issued order being put on hold by, let's say, the same bench or a larger bench. So it doesn't happen very often, but the Supreme Court of India, a three-judge bench, has put a pause or has put a hold on the earlier order of Supreme Court on Aravalis. And I'm pretty sure all of you remember that, or all of you have read about it. That is basically the government of India in an report submitted to the Supreme Court stating that 100 meters, any landform in the Aravali ranges which is above 100 meters should be considered as Aravali and rest of them should not be considered as Aravali, which essentially means licensing for mining etc. would be issued. And there was a criticism of that particular order. Now the Supreme Court of India stated all the matters will be will be heard fresh now. The Supreme Court of India will have a relook at the, let's say, the Aravali, the report that has been submitted by the government of India. So earlier order has been, let's say, paused by the new Supreme Court bench. One more article, just an update. Earlier we discussed the order issued by the Delhi court giving, let's say, basically a bail, putting a pause on the life imprisonment order of the former BJP MLA, Mr. Kuldeep Sengar. Now, the Supreme Court of India yesterday has issued one more order, basically, suspending the earlier, sentencing of the Delhi court. The earlier order of the Delhi court has been suspended by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court simply says there are various other legal issues that we need to look into. There are many other legal issues because this case is a bit complicated. This person has been convicted of raping a minor. In addition to this, there is also one more order where he has been jailed, he has been imprisoned regarding or associated with killing of a, let's say, the minor's father. So there are two different cases. In both the cases, he has been convicted. So the Supreme Court of India simply stated that whatever order has been issued by the Delhi court, that will be suspended because there are a lot of legal issues that need merit, that need to be looked into. The Supreme Court of India has suspended and now will hear the CBI appeal or CBI case against this. Done? So these are certain updates associated with whatever we have discussed earlier. So these are the various articles, concepts, as well as the questions I wanted to discuss with you people in today's session. If you have liked the discussion, do not forget to hit the like button. If you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. And by the way, if any of you have got any kinds of doubts or the confusion regarding what I've discussed so far, please do let me know. I'll address your doubts and then close the session. Any doubts? 7007 PK. Thanks a lot and wish you the same. And same to others as well. Have a great day. Done then. See you tomorrow sharp at 10 a.m. Till then, take care. Have a great day.